What's up, everybody? It's Corey, host of the Grease Bowl Podcast, and it's another week, which means another edition of the Performance Tiers. The Birds came out in the Battle of the Keystone State and beat the fuck out of the Steelers, which is what we like to see. So it's funny how the fortunes of the state of Pennsylvania are starting to turn, right? It was Pittsburgh that dominated forever in football and hockey and everything, and now it's kind of starting to turn a little bit, right? The Pirates are relevant. The Phils are in the World Series. As of right now, the Flyers are second in the Metro. Pens aren't. First are the Devils, so suck it, Pittsburgh. And obviously the Birds still, after Sunday, 8-0 undefeated. So, yeah, it's a perfect time after a tremendous game, just a tremendous game, to get into the Performance Tiers for Week 8. If you need a reference point to the Performance Tiers and why they're named what they are, click the link above, and that will take you to the introduction to Performance Tiers. Also, I just realized I said we're 8-0. We're not. We're 7-0 because the bye week was last week. So there's a quick correction. And now, without further ado, as always, we start with the Brian Dawkins tier. And there's really only one place to start this thing, right? It's Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. You know, look, there's just something about that second quarter with this team. These two linked up for 3 touchdowns in the first half. Hurts finished the day 19-28 for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns, which is a career high. And 3 of those went to A.J. Brown to go with his 6 catches for 156 yards. There's no other way to put it. These two are for real. And it wasn't just the numbers for Hurts. It's the fact that he's making all the throws. You know, we said this before on the pod. In the wild card last year against Tampa, the Bucs knew all they had to do to stop the Eagles was just load up a box, that Hurts couldn't beat them through the air. And now he's arguably the favorite to win league MVP at the midway point of the season. So it's remarkable the improvement he's made, and he's always been somebody that, you know, guys love to play for, right? That's galvanized the locker room. He's a locker room, a teammate-friendly guy. But he's not only just a locker room type leader now he's a true leader on the field as well. So big love sent to those two. And this is the reason why Howie made the deal to bring A.J. Brown in. And for all the Hurt season, you know, photo shoots and everything like that, we were a little skeptic. Look, they've lived up to the hype, which is all we wanted to see. Another member of the Dawkins tier wanted to really honestly put the entire defense in here, right? 6 sacks on the day, and it was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson with his 4th interception in 3 games, and he contributed 1 of those 6 sacks as well, along with Javon Hargraves 2, Hassan Reddick, Milton Williams, and Marlon Tuipulotu each had 1 as well. And through these 7 games, this defense has generated a league-high 16 turnovers, while only turning the ball over twice themselves. That's a fucking plus 14 turnover differential, which that goes a long way in producing these big margins of victory that we've been seeing. That's a huge stat that's crucial when the playoffs arrive. Can you protect the ball? Are you able to generate more time of possession for your offense? Don't kid yourself. Like, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, they're going to grab the majority of the media headlines and, you know, all of that shit from the national media. They're going to get all of those things in the love, but this defense has been equally as effective when it comes to the Birds remaining undefeated to this point. So, great game by them as well, getting after Kenny Pickett as much as they did. As we move on to the Chris Long tier, and it's fitting that we stay on the defensive side of the ball with T.J. Edwards and Kazir White. They were the team's leading tacklers on the day. Edwards had 13, White had 11, and we've talked about this before, and look, it's Eagles fans know this. Linebacker's been a glaring weakness on this roster for years, but credit Howie Roseman for guys like these two. You know, the game's evolved to where guys like Ray Lewis and even a Luke Kuechly aren't as vital to a defense anymore, so you can get by without that force in the middle of your defense, but your D-line better be able to get after the quarterback, much like the Birds have all year. And Edwards and White, you know, even Hassan Reddick is more of a hybrid, more of a pass rusher, and far more effective that way. But Edwards and White are both incredibly effective in their own way, and they both produce consistently, with this past Sunday's game being a prime example of that. So a lot of love sent to the that underrated linebacker core that we did not see making this impact entering the season. Nelson Aguilar tier. And this was a great game. It was kind of hard to put stuff in the next two tiers, to be honest with you, because it was damn near a complete fucking game. But I wanted to put the special teams here because Pittsburgh converted a 4th and 2 early in the second half, courtesy of a fake punt, a direct snap to Marcus Allen, fucking Penn State alum, and it didn't come back to haunt the Eagles, but a lot of that's because the Steelers are cheeks. But these types of things you have to be prepared for as January comes around, as the playoffs approach, and these types of decisions can easily be the difference between winning and losing games. It's not only this play, but the special teams have just kind of been there so far. They've just kind of been there. So, they've kind of existed, right? Britton Covey's not that impressive, and people often forget about that third phase of the game, and it's great so long as the offense and defense are playing as nasty as they have been. But when January comes around again, and if Hurts happens to have an off day, or if the D-line can't get after the quarterback, you're going to need your special teams to contribute in order to win 2 of those 3 phases of the game. So, you just want to see a little bit more out of the special teams. And now we move on to the last tier, as we do every week. The cheeks of the cheeks, the Chip Kelly tier. This isn't Eagles related. This is as somebody that's coming off of making the worst first round pick I've ever made in fantasy football. Najee Harris. Fuck that dude. Useless, right? And look, ultimately, give me an Eagles win all day. Reality over fantasy. I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna root for my fantasy team over the Birds. Absolutely not. But the defense shut Najee Harris down, right? As we said, they're in the Dawkins tier for a reason, but it's not even just this week. It's Najee Harris has been awful. The entire Steelers team in general has just looked like shit. Very, very underwhelming. And for somebody that gets the volume of touches that Najee Harris does, you expected more. That's part of the reason I drafted him. So if you drafted Najee Harris in the first round of your fantasy team, do yourself a favor and throw back a car bomb, because your life is also fucking miserable. And you likely left somebody on the board, several people on the board, that would contribute more than fucking 7 points tops every week. So he's now permanently on my fantasy football draft shit list. Never touching this dude again. Not with a 10-foot pole. So there's the Chip Kelly tier. Again, it was impossible to put anything there. I debated just not even having one, but it was fitting, and anytime there's a chance to take a shot at Pittsburgh, you do it. So there's that. 7-0 is the record as we go into Thursday night's game against Houston. And, the squad seemed to get to work right away. And, not take any time for granted, because you now have a short week. You're traveling to Houston, and this to me has trap game written all over it. I'm not saying Houston's going to win, but these are the types of games where you got to watch your ass. You got to. And you don't want to slip up on Thursday Night Football on a national TV audience. And look, most of these Thursday night games have been cheeks. They've been awful, right? And the most exciting thing that's happened on Thursday Night Football this year was, the fucking Tua incident. How fucking sad is that, right? So you don't want to see the squad slip up against the Texans on Thursday night. So it was nice to see them immediately kind of getting geared up and ready to go to make this road trip to Houston. So let's hope that when we do the tiers for next week, we're not having a different discussion. So what are your thoughts on Sunday's game against Pittsburgh? What do you think as we enter the few hours leading up to Thursday night's game prime time against Houston? Let us know in the comments section. And if you feel so inclined, hit the subscribe button as well if you want Eagles content on your timeline. Either way, appreciate you stopping by. We will see you next time. As always, go Birds.